But Mike, it's an honor to have you here. Mike's the creator of pooltool.io. So it's an explorer that I've been using for a very long time because I'm a state pool operator, and I absolutely love it, and along with all the tools that are around it. But Mike, you know the format. You got 5 minutes to go through your Catalyst proposal, then we've got a little bit of a QA session afterwards. So take it away, Mike.
Pool Tool was something that I did, early on because I'm so passionate about the chain, and when we released Shelly, I just thought. I feel the same way that how I feel now that we're releasing Marlowe. So so I felt the same way about the Marlowe stuff. When they released it on mainnet, I was very excited and inspired to go build something. And the concept I've had all along with Cardano is about utility. And so what we're trying to do here is build out utility with the Marlowe smart contracts. And this kind of all came together. They released it on mainnet, and then I was having a discussion with a friend of mine, and it was about placing a bet. We should use smart contracts to place a bet on ADA. And so we'd each send in 10 ADA, and whatever the price was, the Oracle would trigger the smart contract, and then the funds would get sent to the winner. And it sounded simple, and I thought, I'll just go use Marlowe to do that. And so the first step was like, okay, so, it's Haskell. I mean, that's going to be pretty tough to do. I don't know Haskell. I am a programmer, but I want to do something really simple. And so I said, there's got to be a better way to do this. So then I'm, okay, now we have JavaScript. Really, do I have to do all that work just to do a simple bet? And then I looked at Marlowe, and I'd been watching Blockly kind of develop all along, and I was kind of excited to see this come out. So Marlowe was kind of a breath of fresh air. It's like simple, it's structured. Might be able to do something with this. And then, of course, Blockly. They've been advertising this for 5 years now or whatever since they first started working on it. And it's pretty cool. And so I jumped in as soon as I could in the playground. But again, it was like, where do I start? And so that was kind of a little bit of a frustrating thing. But I think there's huge potential in these smart contracts and Marlowe in general. And of course, I could add to this list. There's all sorts of other ways to make smart contracts as well. But anyway, we're working on Marlowe. And what I found is that it's just like having a bunch of Legos. And that's what the teams have given us so far. And it's amazing how many tools we have to build smart contracts. But it's like we have all these pieces, but no one's really kind of putting it together. We have a few examples for Marlowe smart contracts by the Marlowe team, which is good. But, honestly, they're pretty complex financial contracts. There's no just simple, I want to make a bet contract. And so I think that's out there. And I just want someone to give me the box set of Legos with the instructions. And it's not like I'm going to rebuild it the same way every time, but I'm probably going to build it once using the template, and then I'm going to go and play around and change things and tear stuff apart and rebuild it. So just give me the box set. So that's what we're trying to do. And the structure of Marlowe allows us to do this. So unlike the other coding languages that can be used for smart contracts, Marlowe is very structured, and so it's very easy to pull pieces out and see how the template works. So we can do a live inventory of all the Marlowe smart contracts out there, and then we can take those and abstract them. We take away the addresses, we take away the amounts, and so now we have an abstracted view of the contract that we can now categorize and tag and describe and make them searchable. So that's what we're trying to do. And then the other thing is we have plugins like oracles, mediators, auditors, and of course developers to build things. But all these things come into the smart contract ecosystem to help make them useful. And, as long as we're doing the contract things, we thought, well, we might as well have them all together because it doesn't do me any good to have the smart contract, but I don't know how to plug an oracle into it. So I'll have a list of oracles, I'll have a list of smart contracts, so make it clear how to connect those two together and with all the other features. So that's what we're doing. We're also planning to kind of build it into the simulation tools they already have and with wallets so we can directly deploy these things. That's where we want to go, make it the one-click thing. Wrap it up in a single place called Marlowe Hub. And the idea is that we get to a point where you can just search for a contract type you like in the system. You go find it. There's the contract. It's like, that's good. There's all the variables I got to replace. And now I'm going to push it out there. That's the vision that we have for this platform. We're trying to drive utility, like I said before, by making smart contracts really simple and easy to use. And I jokingly put here with a smile that so even your lawyer could do it. And it's true. I mean, lawyers are supposed to be smart, but that they're not necessarily with technology. And if you think about it, if we can get these contracts to the point where lawyers can actually use them, they do write a lot of contracts, and some of them, some percentage of those, are pretty simple financial contracts. So we ought to be able to get to the point where a lawyer could be comfortable with Marlowe Hub, pull up a simple contract, use it, replace values, and off they go to the races, and they're done their job for the day. So that's what we're trying to do. That's our link to it. We have Marlowe Hub as well, which I'm going to show you really quickly here. If you go, we have a prototype website, which we just released today. We just posted it. And you can go out there and you can search through contracts that we've already categorized and described. And you can see kind of the direction we're going. There's also a place for oracles, mediators, auditors. There's a place you can enter an email address if you're interested in being one of those when we actually do launch. So that's the pitch. All we need is a little bit of money, about 11 months or so, and we'll get this out for you guys. Hope for your support.
Absolutely amazing. There we go. Right on time as well.
Good.
This I think this is amazing. This is absolutely fantastic, and this is it really is the missing link for Marlowe, because I'm playing around with Marlowe and trying to build contracts. I have a vague idea of what I need to do,
exactly.
But there's so many missing bits, like the deployment and all these extra little plugins, like the oracles and everything else around it. It's like I don't know. Where do I go for this?
You're not alone.
Yeah. So this is so cool. Now you said roughly about 11 months. How much funding are you asking for here in this one?
240,000 ADA.
Yep. That works out to be what in USD?
About 70. I'd guess 70 grand.
Okay, that's actually quite good. It's for what you're building, this entire library. Yeah. I'm assuming this is all the hosting infrastructure and development as well.
Yeah, so there's some hosting in there. The indexing, a lot of it we're using some of the structure that we've already built with Pool Tool, right? So we know how to index change. We have so much of the back end systems already well understood. So that's part of why it's cheaper, is that we already know how to do most of this stuff. And so it's just really lists and kind of collecting the information in one place and then connecting it to the wallet. So it's kind of stuff that we halfway know how to do anyway. And so should be quick.
So I'm assuming there'll be like a community aspect around this and people submitting contracts that they build as well.
Yeah, exactly. So our idea is that like developers will end up with a reputation score, for example, and they'll verify that they have actually built contracts. If they were the first to deploy a specific type of contract, for example, they can be tagged as the developer on that contract. So there'll be lots of opportunities for kind of people to position themselves, as an oracle, have higher up the list, lower up the list, and of course, there's also ways for us to collect fees associated with that as well. So, and I can go into that at some point, but that's kind of outside the scope of what we're talking about now. We're just trying to get it up and running and get people using it.
Yeah, I do like that idea of the developer score rating within the platforms. It builds that reputation on there as well. What about security of these smart contracts? Like, I'm assuming there needs to be some sort of audit trail. Like, has this smart contract been audited? Have you thought about those kind of aspects?
So auditors are part of this thing as well. And so as we get auditing done on a contract, we will certainly include that as part of the rating system. But when we do contracts, we're abstracting them, of course, and so they kind of become a little bit disconnected from the original contract. So what we could do is audit that the original contract with these variables all worked great, right?
Yeah.
And so and we can also tell you how many times people have used those contracts, right? And then if you have a verified address that actually has used the contract, then you can rate that contract and say, yeah, it worked well, or it didn't work well, or whatever. But as far as the whole base security stuff goes, I mean, most of that stuff is taken care of by the Marlowe ecosystem by itself.
Right. Okay. I didn't realize that. So it's all wrapped into the platform itself.
Well, Marlowe is structured in a way to make it harder to shoot yourself in the foot. Put it that way.
All right, that's really good to know. Now, you did touch on it in terms of pricing, but in regards to how you guys are going to fund yourselves in the future, how is that going to be continuously maintained?
That's a really good question. That's something that, you know, when we built Pool Tool, again, it was a passion project, and I just wanted to get up there and have people be able to see their pools and stuff. And that's really what's carried it through. But now it's costing me a lot of money every month to run it. And I still run it because I have a pool and everything else. But with this one, from the day one, we've been talking to the Marlowe IOG team about, okay, what are the ideas for how to monetize stuff like this, right? And
Yeah.
so there's simple things you can do. Like, for example, on contracts, you can collect, there's always the min UTXO fee, right? That there's 2.8 or whatever that has to go anywhere on a UTXO. And so that usually gets refunded, but you could set up a system where it doesn't get refunded back to the people, but it goes to a Marlowe hub address, right? And so if it goes to our address for the min UTXO after the contract closes out, we get a little fee, plus that contract gets higher in the ratings. Right. We can also have for all the oracles, let's say there's 50 different ADA to USD oracles out there. They can pay a fee to kind of escalate themselves up in the list. Same with the mediators and the auditors and stuff like that. My goal is, to be honest with you, my goal is it'd be great if we covered the cost of the servers, right? And that's always been the goal of Pool Tool as well, and it does because I have a pool. But the goal really is broader than that. It's to drive utility onto Cardano, because then we all win, right? So it's not like I'm trying to get this to pay for my Learjet, right? I'm trying to get the base Cardano value to pay for the Learjet.
Yes. All right. So this is really, really cool. And in 11 months' time, we should see. Obviously, there's already that MVP there. What was the address again?
Oh, it's marlowehub.io.
Okay, cool. Is that usable yet? Like, can people get some smart contracts?
Yeah, so you can see all the contracts on pre-prod and mainnet already, and you can see all the descriptions of them and stuff. So you can browse them. You can kind of search them.
Okay. I think the last missing link in the chain here is a couple of tutorials and video documentation and whatnot to take people through that entire experience so they can understand what on earth they're doing. Like you said, you want to make it as easy as for a lawyer to actually write the contracts themselves.
Even
but I'm sure
lawyer.
There's even a lawyer. I'm sure there's some technical aspects that they need to understand. So, filling in all those gaps will be absolutely amazing. I'll make sure the links and references are in the show notes for this. And if people like building smart contracts or want to investigate it, definitely a proposal to investigate and have a look at and support. So thank you very much, Mike, for joining me on the episode.
Okay, bye-bye.
Yeah, gotta do it like that. You've been listening to the Learn Cardano podcast. Gotta get it hype. Crypto is what we like, but this is not investment or financial advice. Gotta do your research, cause it's risky. We know it is. This show is educational and it's informative. Crypto's the future, really, it ain't no debate.